One, two, three, one, two, three, guys. One, two, three. I was just fixing my microphone. All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube. We tried something different this time around. We're going to try to do a little stream on YouTube. Feel like the Twitch. I asked myself why am I streaming on Twitch, and I went very deep into a think, and I realized that the main reason is you are hoping, you're hoping for some reason that you're going to be in a position where you get like some massive host or something, but my channel doesn't get promoted because it's too small, and you need to keep streaming, you need to keep being online. It rewards you for streaming for a very long time, and I was sitting there thinking, it's like, should I just have my stream on perma and just rerun the same league that I play and just never turn off the stream ever? Is that the move? And I also have so many complaints about pre-rolls and 8 ads on top of each other's head. And in my mind, at that point, I need to ask myself, what is actually better to do? So in my mind, it's not something that is definitive. It's just something that I want to try. Today, the intention is to cover some specific topics. But I wanted to, first and foremost, just because we're at the beginning of the video, I wanted to say that I created a membership program here on YouTube. If you guys want to support me, the idea of the membership program is to give people access. If they want to ask me specific questions or something, they want specific topics covered, then this is an opportunity for you to be, closer in touch with me. And also, I offer for those that are, I've been doing Cameo and so forth, but I think it just makes more sense to do it here on YouTube. I offer for those that want a voiceover of some sort, or they want a personalized video for a birthday or a Christmas or something like this. I'm going to, of course, give you one a month if you jump up to the Yamato Bazooka tier. I chose the tier names a long time ago, and I checked them now, and I thought, wow, that's brilliant. Let's just keep them. I didn't stream for some days now because I was dealing with some off-season stuff, and at the same time, I've been suffering really insanely. I have crazy muscle tension in my neck and my lower back, and I believe that there was a nerve stuck at some point because I was suffering from crazy migraines. I went to a physiotherapist and I got myself some injections that would kind of like reset the nerves. I feel a bit better after that. I'm doing physiotherapy. I was given medication, but I'm not a big fan of medication, so I've been sticking to just rest, and I hope that it will fix itself, but I am moving in a better direction. I'm feeling a lot better. I wanted to ask you just once again to make sure that I did in fact ask. If you guys have content ideas, just let me know in the comments below, and I will consider it. Yeah. Today, we're going to cover the off-season. We're going to look at the LEC rosters that are rumored. We're going to be talking about my personal situation. We're going to be talking about some contract jail stuff. We're going to talk about FTX and FTX's effect, the potential effect it has on the LCS and TSM. If the people don't know the FTX story. And then I think there was an interesting tweet there from Kadrel where he just posted the potential, what's it called? The potential free agents in LCK and LPL. Okay. I think a lot of people, I'm assuming, are curious about my personal situation. My end, I don't like talking on it before it's official, but I can say it without saying it. I am very grateful for the 2 years that I've had so far, at Fnatic. I think that I walk away knowing, that I did my absolute best with what was given to me. We had our ups and downs. I think that, all things considered, I walk away with no regrets. I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I appreciate it deeply. I came at a time where everything was very tumultuous. After the World Championship, where they lost to Top Esports in a game 5, and the off season then was already one of the craziest ones, and we managed to piece it together. We went to the World Championship, and that was a very crazy World Championship, and I walk away from that also with no regret. I was thrown a lot of challenges, and I managed them to the best of my ability. And I always have the mindset that whatever comes next, as long as I'm willing to look back and learn, and I put myself in a position where new challenges move in my direction, then I am moving in the right way. So all in all, a special shout out to the players of last year. I think that everyone was hoping and expecting a lot more. But going deeper than that, I feel like the task to make the community understand is impossible, because at the end of the day, we are dealing with so surface level conversations within the community, where we go so far to think that the reason certain things are happening is because of Yumi ban. But that's a part of the sport, right? That's a part of the game, and I don't mind. I have strong relationships with all of the players, and yeah, I think we leave the rest of that conversation for when everything is official. All right, that we can do it without feeling bad in any shape or form. But I feel good. I feel good. I feel excited for what's next on my end. I can see myself, I need to also choose my language safe here. I can see myself be in the LCK. I can see myself be in the Japanese league. I could see myself in the LEC. I could see myself as a commentator of League of Legends globally. And I always see myself as a person that jumps headfirst into any challenge, and I will figure it out. I always do. I'm not worried. During my off time, I'm going to make sure that I become jacked. That's my goal. I've been fluctuating above 100 kilos, and it's time for me to reach my physical peak. That's going to be something that I will do for sure. I will continue to learn, continue to grow, and as long as I do that, whatever I do will never be wrong. So don't worry. Don't worry, my friends. Everything shall be good. The next topic I want to jump on right away is contract jails, right? So the main thing that we've seen in the community is that a lot of the organizations that release their players, they are getting praised, right? But I think the main thing, what should be spoken about, right? The main thing that should be spoken about is that G2 have managed to piece together very good contracts for their side. I don't know the idea of the legality of it and what the situation is in regards to, you know, are these things allowed to be in a contract? I don't understand that portion of it. But I think the main thing is that players shouldn't be surprised if, in the worst case scenario, you are not prepared for that case within your contract. If you're in a contract where you are going to, of course, in the case where you get benched and you don't get paid a salary or a limited salary, then they have every reason to keep you. In a lot of other contracts that are negotiated appropriately and fair for players, and especially for a lot of those that get released, I'm not saying this is for every case, right? You need to know that teams, if they keep certain players and they get paid, the full salary, it makes a lot less sense to be on the bench. So it's mutually beneficial to release players. That's the main thing. Some players are on very cheap contracts, but with very big buyouts, so there is no risk or in terms of keeping a certain player that is high value in terms of how much they need to pay to keep him. That is the balance, that you need to always look at. I'm sure in the context of a player like Elioya, he has a very, very high buyout, but I'm almost fairly certain that Elioya's salary is not going to be, one that he would potentially have in a new team. Because he was signed, of course, from the ERLs, and the move from ERLs to the main team, usually those transfers don't seem to be that lucrative, right? And that's the main thing. It's like some players are kept due to the nature of their contract, and some players are released due to the nature of their contract. If you have players they need to be paid a lot while they're benched, to get that value out of those players is going to be a lot more difficult. So organizations naturally are going to move in the direction, if they are not a starting player, to release them for less of a buyout or no buyout, because they want to in the end save money, right? And that's the main thing. It's like the buyout to keep Jankos is very cheap for G2. It seems. From the information available, it seems very cheap for G2 to keep Jankos. And they also have a lot of incentives to keep him, because Jankos is going to stream under the G2 banner continuously while being a bench player. So in terms of the value that you gain from the salary that G2 needs to pay, that is, in G2's position, a very easy proposition for them to play with, right? Very easy proposition for them to play with. And the same thing, in Reckless's case, G2 prepared for their worst case scenario to be as good as possible. And Reckless's worst case scenario was terrible. But that's the main thing, is that G2 leveraged their position of power in that off-season due to them having the players like Caps and Mickey and Wunder and having, won the previous seasons. Players tend to be a little bit more naive in that situation. It makes sense, I was even, talking to Reckless, and from my point of view, it made sense, the decision that he would take. But I didn't know the details of the contract, of course. So G2 have incentives to keep Jankos on their payroll, because Jankos is going to stream. And this is the most problematic part about being a player with a massive brand, because you become a very tough piece to place within teams. very tough piece to place within teams. Because the salary you deserve and the price tag you deserve is so much higher than someone that might potentially play at your same level. So it's tricky, very tricky. But all in all, the moral of the story is, read your contracts, understand what you sign. I think it's easy to jump to the idea that organizations are very scummy, and maybe there was something that was illegal. And if it is illegal, then it is very scummy. But in the end, sure, there's a conversation of short term versus long term, but I can assure you that past dealings, players forget them very quick when it comes to the idea of playing with the players they want to play with and seeing the potential of the roster. We have Mickey X, for example, returning to G2, right? Mickey is returning to G2, and my understanding, if I remember correctly, the off-season they had, Mickey was not so happy, in that situation. Keep in mind, he didn't find the team. He joined XL. If he joined XL mid-split, right? Mickey was not so happy in that off-season, but now Mickey is back in G2, right? Because in the end, Mickey just wants to win. He wants to be paid a salary. And the morality of it all becomes forgotten very quick. Very tricky. But all in all of these things about how organizations are, the community forgets, players forget, and the only thing that matters at the end of the day is what is the potential with this roster, right? I'm not leaking anything, I'm just talking based off the rumors so far, right? Something we could touch on briefly is Garena dies, which is fantastic. The amount of crap we've seen from these guys on Reddit over and over again. The fact that Riot is going to be the official provider of TFT and League of Legends in Southeast Asia is very good. And I don't know how that transition will work, and I hope that players get to keep their accounts and keep all of the free things they got on Garena. But I am happy for them to be freed from the clutches of that poor organizer, which is Garena. FTX is an interesting one. FTX basically, I don't know the best way to explain this, but basically FTX is a crypto exchange slash bank, a custodian where people could lend money, borrow money, get collateral, so forth. It was an exchange. And basically what you need to know is FTX is completely screwed. They are very screwed over. They got completely outplayed by a different exchange, which is Binance. And Binance was apparently holding a lot of the native FTX coin, and apparently FTX, what they were doing was that they were using their own coin as a collateral, so any type of attack against their coin, if it was starting to get dumped, they would be in big trouble. And there is a lot more complicated things behind what happened to FTX, and I am the wrong person to explain it. But all in all, FTX is screwed, and a lot of the people that had money in FTX are also screwed. I don't know the details of it all, but the main thing, the main reason I wanted to bring this up is I am very curious to see the impact on TSM, and also the impact on the LCS, because these crypto exchanges, they have a lot of money to throw around, and they would definitely investing plenty of money in the direction of the LCS and also TSM. And what kind of an impact that has, I think paying those sponsorships is going to be very low down on the list, because the last time I heard, FTX owes its customers $10 billion. And I think paying the sponsorships is going to be far, far down on the list. And Binance, they pulled the gangster move. Binance crushed their competition, and there's so much blood in the water due to it. And it seems like for the cryptocurrency world that every black swan event that could occur is occurring, in terms of, FTX is missing $8 billion. Last time I heard it was $10 billion, but $8 billion, $10 billion, we're talking billions either way. So it's a complete mess. They can't pay their customers. People can't withdraw their money from FTX, which is insanity. I know people that can't access 8-figure numbers from FTX. There's the story of Tom Brady. I heard as well, I don't know if this is true, but that the government of which country is buying Bitcoin? El Salvador. I heard that they keep their Bitcoin with FTX, which is mental. If that is true, it's mental. I don't know if FTX will manage to recover anything, but I'm curious to see the impact on TSM's, TSM's budget. I am curious to see how that impacts LCS's budget, because that's a huge chunk of money that probably covered important operation costs because the amount of work that was required to put the FTX, gold graft there, I don't think is that big of a deal. And I'm sure they got a shit ton of money. That there was a FTX gold lead every single moment of the stream. It was going ballistic. Why are we talking about crypto? We're talking about crypto because it affects the LCS ecosystem. Because TSM was sponsored by FTX, and also the league was sponsored by FTX. So I'm curious to see how that impacts things. Really, I'm very curious. But we will never know until we know. This next portion of the conversation, FTX US is fine though? Oh, that's true actually, that's true. Maybe there's no impact. Maybe there's no impact at all. That's a fair point, Urza Artificer. I think maybe it's even wrong for me to bring it up, because I am very clueless when it comes to this topic. I'm just kind of curious, following it as a, noob. Now, what I want to do is I want to look at the EU rosters and the rumored EU rosters, and I wanted to rate them. I want us to do it together, and we will basically just have a look. Let's take a look. Alright, so I don't know how well you guys see this. Maybe I can make it smaller. Maybe this is better. Is this okay? Maybe this is alright. Alright. So we have some rumored rosters. Start with yours. Well, the rumored Fnatic roster. The main thing with these group of guys is that last year was not functional. We had a lot of strong players, but we had players that couldn't flourish in the dynamic of the players. And I think that the core that was kept was these three players worked decently together, you know. And the main thing is, even though while on paper I think this roster looks worse than last year, I think that the main thing will be how good can the cooperation between Rux, Razork, Humanoid be, and how can Reckless, supplement a playstyle like that. Because I think in a world where you ask for Humanoid and for Wunder to perform, these guys can deliver. And the question is if they can perform better than last year based off of, them having different type of players in the bot side. Will this be a more functioning roster? Because in order for this team to be a contender, Humanoid, Wunder, and Razork need to perform much better. And the question is if Reckless and Rux will be able to supplement that for these group of guys. I think Rux, from the little time I've spent with him, I think he has a strong character. I believe that he is more consistent in his play than a player like Hilly. I think Hilly has a much higher ceiling. He has a very high ceiling, super high ceiling, but he needs very specific things from his teammates to achieve that ceiling. He needs to feel connected with his teammates, and he needs to feel like that the bond is strong. That's why you see often whenever Bwipo and Hilly were put together, these are guys that really functioned well. Can you wipe your camera? Yeah, I can try to do it. Let's see, I have a little cloth here. Let's see if it's better. Is that better? So the main question, is, Rock is a person that can bring leadership to the table. I think that he can push teammates around him to be better. But the main thing is, the main thing is will that be enough to elevate Fnatic to new levels? And I think that might as well be. That might as well be. I think that Wunder, Razork, and Humanoids are fantastic players. I thought so last year too. I think Razork has grown so much as a player, and he's gotten used to the newer generation of, not newer generation, but the higher level of jungling, right? And I think that can be like a shell-shocking experience when you are experiencing it for the first time, and that demand is put on you in a very different fashion than, for example, what he was experiencing in Misfits. And I think Razork has grown to become a more and more of a veteran. He just needs to make sure that he understands what he needs to do in order to perform, and the preparation it takes for him personally to perform and find consistency in that. But I think Fnatic definitely is a contender. I think this is a team that, you could clearly see an identity here in terms of how they should approach the game and what they could achieve through that. And then the question is if that is going to work in practice. When we look at G2's roster, Hansam and Mickey X, even though Hansam and Mickey X might not have had the greatest seasons in the past year, you look so much different without a beard. Yeah, I agree. I look very different without a beard. Hansama, even though they didn't have exciting last years, I think that this combination is very deadly. I think Caps, Hansama, Mickey, often if you look at what has been important in past years of the LEC, I feel like the main things that stand out in the roles is usually mid and jungle, And then I think bot lane are always a close second and sometimes even first. And I think that they created a strong baseline. And I think in a world where top lane probably is the least interesting role when you look at Europe, right? When you look at Europe, I probably think that top lane is by far like the least interesting role. Like for me, from what I've seen so far, I think that Wunder stands tallest. You know, I think Wunder is a very versatile player, a very strong player that you know has a very high ceiling and potential still, and I feel like having a weakness in top side, weakness in top lane. I feel like this is not where I feel like finals and best of 5 series is defined that often. I think it's quite rare. I think more often we see the competition in the mid and competition in the bot really, you know, define series, especially in Europe. Of course, it's net meta dependent, and we have some new names coming into, you know, the scene. But top lane remains as a not impressive role when it comes to the EU. And I think that there is potential for players here to reinvent what it means to be a top lane in Europe. So Creamy, you say, but King is the MVP for gapping Zeus. Without him, DRX would have lost. I am talking about Europe. I'm talking about Europe. That top lane diff in Europe is not that big of a deal. In the context of Europe specifically, right? Broken Blade stays, and Yike is the new addition. I think Yike is decent, but it's always, you know, when we look at Yike and Shio, I think it's always a different game to jungle against the likes of a Malrang or the likes of a Elioya. It is a completely different game, and usually when junglers come, often they also quickly go. And regardless of how well they performed in EU Masters and so forth, it is very difficult to judge, for me at least, how well Yike and Shio is going to do against the likes of Malrang, Bo, and Elioya, as an example. It's just a different level of jungling altogether, because the lane precision becomes higher in the LEC, and jungle precision becomes so much more important. And I think that you get away with more when you play at a lower level as a jungler. And the opportunities and the pathing decisions you need to do in order to play with play at that level, that is going to be the main challenge for them. Biggest challenge. But when I look at Caps, Hansama, and Mickey, I think that's very exciting, you know? BDS, Adam, Shio, Nuclearid, Crownshot, Labrov. I will say that this looks like a, you know, rational move in this direction, based on what we saw from the previous year. I think the BDS main roster, if you compared it to the Academy roster, I think the Academy roster was just better. And they are giving big parts of the Academy roster a chance here, and I think it makes sense, you know? Let's see if they can fulfill some kind of hidden potential. And that hidden potential is hard for me to define because, you know, I'm sure that the new coach of BDS, since he worked in Academy, which is rumored, he has been, you know, they have an eye for this, hopefully, right? Koi, I think this, you know, naturally from what we saw previous year, in terms of what I prioritize, you know, of what matters in terms of strength, I think that this whole group, they lost Odoamne, all right? But I don't think even though I think Odoamne is a very strong player, in the context of Europe, I don't think it's that big of a deal. That's a tricky thing. I think Shigenda is decent. What they've shown so far is decent, right? He needs a lot more experience, and he's going to be pushed here very well in this roster, right? He's going to get the opportunity to learn very quickly in the context of what Rogue is. For me, Koi on paper, just based on what we saw last year too, I think they walk into this season still looking very strong if they maintain all of these parts of the roster, right? If this is the rumored roster, I think it still looks really, really good, because in my mind, looking at DLC, what you want to prioritize, what you want to look for, you want to have one of those mid laners that can compete at the highest level. Like, that's always core. Very rare do you see a bad mid laner in Europe win the LEC. It's like very rare that that's the case, right? Very, very hard to imagine, you know, like you see Caps, Larsen, Humanoid. If I look at these three mid laners, those are the three mid laners in my mind that are ready to win a championship, right? And of course, Perks. I didn't mention Perks. Perks is there too, right? Perks is definitely there too. Proven quantity that can find the form strong enough to win a championship. The others are, I would say, innocent until proven guilty, but they are not like, before they show something different than what they've shown so far, I can't really put them in that same box, right? So that's always the first step. You want to be a contender, you need to have a mid laner that can push the boundaries and meet the expectations of competing against the top. And then you have jungle, right? You want to have experience in your jungle. You want to have creativity in your jungle, and you want to have, a player that can really, really, show creative adaptation throughout series. I think Malrang fits that perfectly, And then in terms of strength of bot lane, Comp and Trimby, I think that they were the best performing bot lane, and I don't see a reason why they shouldn't continue to do so, because I think that the field, generally speaking, has gotten weaker. So I mentioned Larsen, Humanoid, Caps, and Perks. They are in a different box than the rest of the mid laners. So Koi is the team I am the most excited for. Astralis, I don't know the jungler yet. I don't know if Yankus is going to join this roster. I would be very surprised if that's the case. But, looking at a player like Finn, I think this opportunity, this chance for him to be, this chance for Finn to be in this XL roster, I think that's the best chance that Finn could have ever gotten. And I think that was the opportunity for him to prove that he can elevate and be in that position, right? Where he deserves more and is one of the names to be reckoned with in Europe. But I think it kind of fell flat. And Finn is now back, in a pond where on paper it makes a little bit more sense for him to be in. And he will have to prove himself here in Astralis, because the main thing for me is that he, these are the type of moments where you'll be in, potentially your last chance. And that might sound harsh, right? But if things don't work well here for Finn in Astralis, and he doesn't raise eyebrows, this is where you're pushing on your last straw. So a lot of pressure here on Finn to really become the player that he sometimes showed. Sometimes. SK. I think SK, they managed to grab some decent players. Uh, I think that for what SK is and for what SK are competing with in terms of budget and in terms of a name pool and so forth, I think that this is a pretty decent roster. I think this is a roster with the right leadership and the right guidance. This is a roster that can piece together some things and potentially send some players to bigger teams at the end of the year. you know, that's what I'm looking at. I think this is a team that, if you look at the bottom of the sphere, I think this is a team that can definitely squeeze themselves into the top 8 over, for example, a BDS or potentially over Heretics. Looking at Vitality, comes with a lot of question marks, but I think this is a roster. I have to admit, I don't know so much about Photon, so it makes it a little bit harder for me to talk about. But I think, in regards to what I mentioned before, if you are in the LEC, top lane is where you want to take risks. So as funny as it seems, uh, already, when I think it was when we were making the 2019 roster for Vitality, names that crossed my table was Burdul, Zeus, and Peanut, and also even Chovy back then. And I was always inkling in that direction, but we had, of course, the leadership of Cabochard, and it made sense considering, Cabochard was all pro top laner and did fantastic things. He went to Worlds and solo killing, QV and so forth. But I think if there's a place to take risks, if there's a position to take risks in, I say it's top lane. The main question here is that you have quite the spicy composition of players, right? You have someone from Korea, you have Bo that is from China, then you have Perks, Neon, and Kaiser. So this is going to be quite the project to piece together, but I think it always comes down to the same thing. Often what we see is the conversation about synergy. But in reality, the most important thing is acclimation. If a player like Bo or a player like Photon, if they can acclimate to Europe and still find good form, that is the most important thing. Can players move to Europe and play in Europe and still find their best form possible? It's not about, I know that if these players are going to underperform, people are going to say, wow, well, you have one player from China, one player from Korea, of course they can't communicate. But in my mind, as long as these players play insanely fucking good, a lot of things that need to be done with the game should be natural, right? They should be natural and they should be, in the right direction. When you want to challenge your team and move forward and grow as a team, of course you need to be able to communicate between one another. But I think the biggest challenge always with foreign players is acclimation. How are you going to make sure that their level translates within Europe? That is also the biggest challenge when players move to North America. They think that the player they are is going to be the player they will be in a different location too. But just like polar bears in Antarctica, they are bears that have acclimated to Antarctica. So they are white and so forth, and they take in a lot of light and whatever, they have adjusted to the climate. Then you have brown bears, black bears, grizzly bears, depending on the location, right? There's many ways to communicate within the game, right? And we've seen teams with different language speaking players. As long as you want to play good and you want to achieve good things, and you can go so far to communicate with only pings. I can easily see teams function with only having pings, right? And we've seen teams in China, like previous Worlds winners, have had Korean players, Chinese players. We have to see about it. But I think this is a roster. If things go right, if this photon bet pays off, and Bo will just get the full buy-in of a player like Kaiser and Perks, and everyone's going to support Bo to dominate the games, and he has the confidence to do so, then Vitality can definitely be a contender. XL. So a lot of people in the chat wrote about Viteo, right? And I think Viteo is a strong player, right? Viteo is a very strong mechanical player. He is, a very strong mechanical player, very strong laner. But the main thing and the main issue I have with Viteo is I feel whenever his team is pushed, and they're playing the playoffs games, and the story has been painted, and the idea of who Viteo is has been painted throughout the regular split, I feel like that the playoff performance always falls flat. So, if I think about it, I believe, maybe I'm wrong, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Viteo has never won a single best of 5 in his career. And you can attribute that to the teams that he's been on, and that's perfectly fine, right? That's perfectly fine. But looking at his individual play as well, within some of those moments when push comes to shove, it has also been poor. I have a very clear memory of him being solo killed as the LeBlanc player by a Twisted Fate. I have very clear memories of that. And Viteo has struggled to translate his regular season performance onto playoffs. And that's why for as long as Viteo proves me otherwise, in the context of him playing a best of 5 against a Caps or a Humanoid or a Larson, I would lean in the other people's direction. Because being pushed on the level of depth, being pushed mentally, being pushed on the topic of energy, this is a whole different skill set. And I believe Viteo has a lot to prove on this part. I think XL as a team, I think that they have strong individual pieces, but I'm struggling to see the player that is going to be the catalyst and the reason for why this team is going to win the league. I think it's a safe bet to say that these guys are going to be able to qualify to the World Championship, but in terms of winning a championship, my imagination doesn't take me there. My imagination doesn't take me to those places. Qualifying to World Championship? Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable. Winning the league? Harder to imagine. Much harder to imagine. Team Heretics? I remember playing against Ruby a long time ago. He was a substitute for Africa Freaks. He was a substitute for Afrika, and he was phenomenal. I don't know how he is nowadays. I haven't watched his games, sadly. I haven't watched his games. It's I don't know how good he's doing nowadays, but I remember thinking when I saw him play. So basically, this was around the time Irelia just got reworked, and Swain just got reworked, and Swain was OP, and then we played against the reworked Irelia. Jizuki refused to play it in solo queue, my man. I was like, Jizuki, you need to try this Irelia. I think Irelia mid is gonna be the shit. And then we play against Ruby Irelia, level 2 solo bolo, level 3 solo bolo, level 4 double kill. Gilius and Jizuke just got sliced up. But I feel like on paper this team, unless Ruby is the biggest donger on the planet, I think this is a team that will fight to qualify to the top 8. Mad Lions. Mad Lions, you know, once again, Chasey, I'm not so sure about him. You know, maybe I should have done more research, but, you know, fuck it. Just looking at, you know, I already mentioned it before. I believe Hilly is a player that can have a very high ceiling. And I think that this team has characters that are more fitting Hilly's personality. You know? I think that on this roster, Hilly as a player can find that ceiling again. And I think in the case that he does, this team naturally, due to Hilly's ability, can become very dangerous. I think that Elioya, Niski, Hilly can become strong enough engines to just crack some bones and to take games off of the weaker teams. I mean, also the stronger teams, honestly. But can I see a world where, you know, I think the overall field has gotten a little bit weaker on paper. So I think this makes Mad Lions a partial contender. Now if I'm gonna look everything like as a whole, you know, everything as a whole, and I want to do some ratings here, I think S is naturally Koi. I think that one is very easy to place. I think it's straightforward, clear and cut. You put them there. I think in terms of A, I think a lot of teams slot into A. And this is where it gets a little bit more boring. You know, I feel like if you look at... We can start where it's boring, right? We can definitely start where it's boring. So this is how it would look like from the get-go, you know, in my mind. I think that we would place SK here. I would put Astralis here, and then is there a team that I'm missing? Yeah, the issue is I don't know the jungler of Astralis. I don't know the jungler of Astralis, so it becomes a little bit harder for me to place them. So now, if we play the game... If we play the game of let's limit A to 3 teams. Let's do that instead, okay? Let's limit them to that, and based off of that alone, let's see what my mind tells me, you know? If I have to choose 3 in the top column. You know, if I have to choose 3 in the top column, then probably it would be this. Yeah, this is where my first like gut feeling, you know, in which direction my gut feeling takes me. Yep. Any questions? You know, the main thing for me, what I'm looking at is, you know, if we continue, right? If we continue here to this, like, who are the S tier players in my mind, right? If I look at what we've seen so far, I think in jungle is Elioya, Malran. I think it's also potentially Bo. It's like I would consider to put Razork Ivan here when he's playing at his best, but he's inconsistent, you know? Inconsistent. And Bo, of course, is just a bet, right? It's like Malrang, Elioya, Bo. Let's see if I'm missing someone. Maybe the Astralis mystery jungler. Astralis jungler. Ah, kidding. I think Ivan is a solid A, but if he raises his bar of consistency, can belong in that, you know, S box. Mid lane, in my mind, Humanoid, Caps, Rasen, and Perks. What are mid laners that you bet on? You know? What are the mid laners that you bet on when you go into a series, right? What are the mid laners that you would want to bet on, right? The bot duos, I think Hans and Mickey. And then we have Comp and Trimby. These are my S tier duo bot lanes, right? I think the fact that Upset is not playing, is definitely a hit, right? And then we have pairings that definitely got weaker, you know? No, I think Ivan has very, very high potential as a player, but I keep in mind his performance throughout the whole year, right? Maybe bot lanes that could be argued is Karzi Hilly, and then you potentially have, you know, if we want to look at who would be A, right? It would be like Patrick Targamas, and then, you know, we have plenty of A tier bot lanes, right? Plenty of A tier bot lanes, honestly. Karzi Hilly, I would say Patrick Targamas, Neon Kaiser, you know, Reckless Rocks. I think Neon Kaiser, it seems to could be exciting. Yeah, Neon Kaiser is definitely like a bot lane that could potentially be here in S. But I would my mind is telling me, you know, A tier. You know, that's the thing. So I have to stick to my gut feeling here. and that's what all it is. This is a tier list. I will definitely be wrong. I will definitely be wrong. If I'm right, then yeah, I'm Nostradamus. And then in terms of top lane, it's like we have a bunch of A tiers, but do we have any S tiers? In my mind, if I want to put one player there, it's Wunder. I think often the community is way too fixated on, wow, we've got a weak side player, we're going to put this strong side. This is not, I can tell you this for sure, no one gives a fuck about this in LPL or the LCK. This is such a, you are band-aid solving your problems before they even occur. And the moment you begin to talk in these phrases, you're already making your team weaker. I know that people like to talk about how the friendship of DRX conquered. I think that DRX was a very strong group and it helped them achieve insanely high highs. But I don't want people to underestimate how fucking good each individual player proved to be in the end, right? Because in the end, you can choose whatever aspect of that you want to be the deciding factor, right? If your mental is in the right place, it's like, imagine the mental is the fuel, okay? And you're pouring that fuel into a specific car. You could have gold players that have the mental and the friendship of level of beyond comprehension, like that fucking weird ass. Did you guys see this weird ass series on Netflix where they, like Sense8 it was called, where they cancelled it really quickly, right? They cancelled it very quickly, but nevertheless, they basically whenever they were like fucking, then all of them were fucking at the same time. It got really, really weird, real quick. I don't know if anyone saw the show. I do not recommend to watch it. It was very strange. But if a team had that level of chemistry, it doesn't matter in the end if they all still suck. The point is, DRX, their individual players are all insane. They weren't thought about that way before this tournament, rightfully so, but they played really good. Zeka had potentially the best performance out of any player at the whole tournament. Beryl smurfed out of his mind. Deft played really good. People are looking at his statistics about him being behind, but it's because Beryl is all over the map. If Beryl feels like he can't lane and he has Spell Thieves Edge, he's piecing out. He's collecting that item. He's collecting that item elsewhere if he can't lane. He needs to trade. So he'll trade top, he'll trade mid, he'll be level 6, 15 minutes. But my point is, right? DRX had insane chemistry. It is crucial, very important to have strong chemistry, meaning that you have players that are there for each other, care for each other, and that you are willing to pull through when things get tough. But you need to have power when that's there. Zeka, considering his opposition, Scout, Knight, Larson, Faker, okay? I'm forgetting one. Chovy. Considering his opposition and how good he looked against that, crazy. But all in all, I think this is a fair assessment. Obviously, this can change, right? I could be very wrong. I already mentioned before that some players that I don't know how to rate, like Chasey, Photon, and even Bo in the competitive setting. I've only watched him in solo queue. I think the main thing for me, right, if I give you guys some interesting extra thoughts on this, is that players like Shio and Yike, even though they are very hype coming from the ERL scene, moving up to the LEC is like getting thrown into cold water, and you need to be able to swim when that happens. Because jungling against a player like Elioya and Malrang is very different and can become very suffocating very fast. And with how the new format is set up, right? With how the new format is set up, you need to perform quick and you need to perform fast. But G2 is a team that proved last year under the cape of Dylan Falco that they started the season with very good form, right? And all in all, I think that this is something where they need to prove themselves. If there was a world where G2 ended up with Elioya, I would put them in S tier. But the fact that Koi has a mid laner that has won the league and has proven that he can compete against the best. They have one of the strongest bot lanes in Europe, and they have a jungler that can really capitalize on this and be a driving force in the game. They are already there with something that they can build on. And I think Shigenda will be a fine fit, and he is going to be able to grow here. Okay, I see that the conversation in chat is also moving in a different direction than what is being shown on stream, so I think we have covered it all. I've given my thoughts about XL. I think that if we have a circumstance, XL, they have a lot of strong pieces. But I don't know who is going to be the difference maker to push them over the line when things get tough. And that's where proven players have time and time again shown that they are better. And XL has a roster that in my mind needs to prove that they are capable of winning best of fives against the best of the best. That's the main thing for me. Okay. The next thing I wanted to check out, which I think is a good timing, is Kadril's tweet. Kadril put out a tweet, which I thought was very interesting. Let's see if you guys can see it. Boom. He pulled up the contract database and checked them all out. Right? Contracts running out this season for LPL LCK. Faker, Ruler, Uzi, Doran, Peanut, Lehens, Keen, Teddy, Kingen, Pioshik, Zeka, Deft, Beriel, Prince, Mako, Scout, Viper, Philandre, Kanavi, Yagao, Doimbi, Rookie, Deshai, Ming, Zhao Hu, Wei, Gala, Bin, SoFM, Knight, Jakilov, Tian, Nuguri. So you could make a crazy roster already from this. You can make a crazy roster already from the players that are showing here. I think you can make an insane roster from the players that are already showing here. And I think that the biggest detriment in past years, the biggest detriment in past years for LCK has been that I felt like their talent pool was poorly distributed between the teams that made them potentially weaker at the World Championship stage. I assume Faker and Keen will resign. Yeah, of course, yeah. I think that's fair to say. But you guys have no idea how excited to the idea of Rookie going to the LCK I am. It's like if we have Rookie, Kanavi, Viper come back to the LCK, that would be insanity. That would be insanity, dude. You know, I could see a world where Genji does something like, I don't know what the rumors are, but if Genji managed to get Kanavi and a little Viper, ooh! Imagine Genji do this. Chovy goes top lane, okay? We finally have Chovy go top lane. He finally gets to play the role he secretly wanted to play his whole life. Okay? He gets to farm top, not interact with anyone. The fucking TP change was practically created for a player like Chovy. Put him top lane. Let him swing his CSing boner on the enemy top lane. And then you have Rookie mid lane. Woo! Rookie mid lane. You have maybe Doinby coming to Europe again. You know, it's weird because I can't imagine players like Doinby and Deshai functioning so well in the LCK. But maybe this is my fan brain talking, you know? These guys are a little bit too crazy to function in LCK, is how I feel, you know? Because they don't like crazy too much. But then again, you have players like Battle, like he's the epitome of crazy. So maybe the LCK just doesn't have players that are crazy enough. You know? But Lehens, you know, you can make crazy rosters from this, no? And it's always that question, you know? Will, like Zeka going into free agency, you know the amount of money the LPL teams are gonna throw at his face? They're gonna throw so much money at his face. Jesus Christ, they're gonna throw money at his face. Like, just know, guys, if Zeka stays in the LCK, he denied $5 million $5 million offers. Like, this guy is going to have the craziest offers in this off season. I'm telling you guys, 100%. This guy is gonna get the craziest. This guy is gonna fucking be swimming in money, dude. Like, he's gonna be fucking doing the breaststrokes and all that shit. Like, this guy is absolutely mental. Same thing for Kingen. Like, these two, they have crazy value here coming into this off season. Yeah, the main thing is, it's like, I don't envy DRX at all. Like, DRX are fucked, dude. DRX is so fucked. Like, so fucked. Because they just won Worlds and they have no players contracted. That is a mess, dude. That is a mess. That is gonna be so expensive for them to retain if they even consider it. That is mental. Absolutely crazy. It's like the RX is so fucked. Financially, this is gonna be so expensive to keep. Like, if they manage to find a way to keep the same roster together, I'll be in shock, man. I'll be in utter dismay. I'll be so much in shock. I'll be amazed if they manage to do that. Really. I will be astonished. I will be, insert random adjective. Like, it would be crazy if they managed to do it. But I think that we will follow the LCK rumors as they come up and they come up more. But I think this is a perfect teaser for us. You know, perfect teaser for us. I would be so damn happy. Of course, players demand much more money in the case of success. Of course they do. They deserve more money because their value just went through the roof. Ruler to Damwon would be exciting. You know, just seeing Showmaker and, you know, if Damwon could get Barrel back and let's say Ruler, that would be crazy. That would be nuts. That's the world's winning roster right there. Ruler to T1. Love me some Gumayushi, but Ruler is a different breed. Viper and Ruler are two players. Any team, I don't know any team that doesn't get an upgrade from having Viper Ruler. I feel like these two guys are in a different class. Viper to Damwon. Woo! I think Rookie is insane, by the way. I just wish Rookie gets a good roster, man. Please, please, please. I don't see a world where Rookie comes back to the LCK, but maybe he listens to this and changes his mind. T1 will never let Guma go unless he ints every game he's the personal project of CEO Joe Marsh. That just reads so weird. Personal project. Well, if I can made him in a lab or what? Yeah, I can tell you this much though. I believe that Rookie will not come back. I believe the Shy will not come back. I don't believe Doinby will come back. I think there's a chance that Viper might come back. That's the main thing. That's the main player I think would consider going back to the LCK. The others not so much. And then in terms of transferring, you know, in terms of transferring to LPL, I think every single DRX player. Yeah, I know that Doinby never played LCK, but it's more about the fact he's going back to his home country. Oh yeah, Kanavi is also one. Yeah, sorry. Kanavi is also one for sure. Faker is Guma's uncle. Joe wants 5 players from Faker's bloodline. Alright. I don't know what Saji316 is smoking. Is it money that prevents LC teams? Well, first, they can't compete on the money front. And they can't compete on anything else. Food in Europe is worse. Games are worse. Money is worse. Why would you come to Europe? You come to Europe when you're a reject in Korea. And then you prove everybody wrong. Like Malrang. He was the bench of Canyon. Okay? Teams were not so interested in him. But he was the bench of Canyon. He went to Europe because he wanted to show everyone off and say, yo, I'm a gangster. Food is not worse. Bro, the LEC is in Germany, man. What are you smoking? Yeah, I would definitely want to go to Europe over North America. Like Huni in 2014, 2015. You know, this Huni, I remember he was rumored to be a little bad boy. And he was not a proven quantity. I believe that he, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong on this, so don't quote me. But I remember Huni being like the third choice for T1 top lane. And that's where Fnatic cooked him up from. I'm from Bulgaria, food here is nice. Yeah, of course. I forgot there's a roster. Guys, you're all ridiculous. They are going to come to play in Berlin. And of course, I knew some people were going to say, oh, you didn't try French cuisine. Ho, ho, ho. You don't have French à Paris. You know, I knew some people would come out the woodworks and say, hey, Italian pizza, the spaghetti, you didn't try it, man. Or the Mediterranean cuisine and so forth. But come on. Like, we live in Berlin, we play in Berlin, we're not going to experience that. I'm from Spain, so food here is just better than everywhere else. Well, yeah, let's convince Canavi to play in the LVP. Don't you like Dutch food? Bro, fucking mayonnaise and fucking croquettes. Come on, man. I'm Italian, but I do realize that LEC is in Berlin. Yes, Reddit monkey. I love it. Well, Spain has now 3 teams in LEC. What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with anything, man? What does that have to do with anything at all, my friend? Spanish food is delicious. It is. Italy has amazing food. Turkish food is amazing. But guys, we are still in Berlin. The teams are in Berlin. LEC coming to Madrid. Okay, well, Inigo Rey knows. He just knows. Yes, we're gonna do the Overwatch League thing. Did you ever try Dutch food? Not really, no. But guys, keep in mind what you're competing with, okay? So in Korea, the food blows your fucking mind, dude. Mexican food was insane. Because, you know, I have this ratio, you know? Price divided by taste, and then there's a number, okay? In Mexico, everything was so fucking cheap and so fucking delicious. So good. So good. So the price divided by food ratio was so damn high in Mexico. My goodness, Mexican food is amazing. Bro, I was eating Wagyu steaks for like $25. Like 600-gram Wagyu steaks. Nuts, man. Brilliant. So you're saying food is better how longer I sit on the toilet? No. Oh man, what am I reading? we're doing big. We're how am I insulting Mexico? It's cheap. Bro, everywhere, everything is expensive, man. It's so expensive. Cheap things are insane, man. Bro, Mexican food was amazing. It was kind of weird. It was kind of weird. Sometimes we were in shopping malls and they were completely empty. And the first thing that came to my mind is that they are laundering money here. Because like we had shopping malls completely for ourselves. Yes, it's a good thing. No, Hilly has never cooked for me. You see the picture of Deft and Pyoshi eating street tacos? Yeah, yeah. Bro, I love cow tongue. But the thing is, if you are in Korea, okay, and you eat Korean barbecue, I don't think any food comes close. Bro, you have ribs, Korean ribs. You have fried rice, kimchi fried rice. Oh, kimchi soup. You have bone broth soup. You have, oh, it just blows your mind. Oh, man. Best burger in New York costs $2 and is sold in a canteen in Brooklyn. I am 100% sure that's a lie. No, for sure. Like, bro, if I eat a burger for $2 and it tastes decent, that makes the burger insane. There is, for me, every time I eat something, I am, if I'm paying for it, I am thinking about it in price divided by taste ratio. That's how I'm thinking about it. Like that's my reasoning for it. For example, this morning, okay, for €4, I ate fries with currywurst. And these fries were so fucking crispy. They put that chili powder on top. The mayo was cold and nice. The fries were warm and crispy and they had a crunch to them. Bro, for those €4, I was mind blown. So the equation says €4 divided by a 10 taste. Wait. Multiplied. It's actually taste is above. Taste divided by price. That's how it has to be. Then, chicken dinner. The value for €4 is insane. Honestly, guys, we were in New York and for 10 pizzas, we spent $600. Every time we walked outside, you could die. But we also were unfortunate because they put us right on top of Times Square. Okay. We continue, guys. The final thing I wanted to do on today's stream is I wanted to look at the Ruler's goodbye video. Ruler's gangsters as fuck. We love Ruler on this channel. There's no way around it because we love League of Legends, so we love Ruler. All right. All right. We preface this by saying Ruler leaving Genji is the end of an era. He was there during the Samsung times. He was there during the hardships, the good times and everything else. Truly a legend. I am excited for his future. And I think there's a player that has a lot more to give. And I think he's in the conversation of being the best AD carry of all time. But with Deft's victory of the World Championship, he's tough to compete with, but I think it's very close.
을 하면서 올 한 해가 정말 제일 행복했던 것 같아. 젠지나 뭐 저를 응원한 게 너무 행복했다고 하는 게 너무 행복하더라. 너무 좋더라.
삼성입니다. 룰러 선수의 새로운 영입 그리고 토화장전 선수의 서포터로의 포지션 변경. 근데 이런 선수가 무대에서 감 잡고 캐리하기 시작하면 그때는 진짜 대형 신인이 나왔다라고
Oh
얘기해요.
wow, they played Lucianami. Wow,
그때는 진짜
they played Lucianami, guys. 2017. How crazy is that?
대형 신인이 나왔다라고 얘기할 수 있는 거예요.
룰러 선수의 성향은 아주 공격적이라고 합니다.
룰러가 날려주면 더욱더 의미가 있겠죠.
정말 공격적으로 라인전도 하는 편이고
Samsung Galaxy to the World Final!
타타 때도 프로 치고 들어가면서 밸리스도 잘 넣는 편이고
At AD carry, Ruler!
재혁이 조심해야 재혁이 형이 앞으로 치고 들어가요. 재혁이 형.
룰러 더블캐!
망골들은 삼성한테 아무것도 아니다라고 얘기하는
그렇죠. 룰러가 계속 꼽고 있었는데 너무 당연한 얘기지만 뽑아찍기 그 데미지 계산이 안 되죠. 롤드컵에 세 번째 올라가면 크게도 기분 나쁘겠죠. 장고 노양도 근데 룰러 와 사람 죽었어요.
Okay, MVP performance. Go JJ, man.
지금 원딜 해도 됩니까 안 됩니까? 직설적으로.
저는 솔직히 못해서 안 하는 거라 생각하거든요.
모든 게 다 이릅니다.
바텀을 박살낸 게임이 한두 게임이 아니거든요.
이름 자체의 그 단단함은 정말 세계 어떤 팀과 견주어도 높이 떨어지지 않는 그런 힘을 보여주고 있거든요.
젠지 더 클래식.
익숙한 멜로디,
네.
속도의 젠지. 굉장히 빠르고 좋은데 결승 무대 기준으로 생각을 해봐도 2% 부족한 모습이 결정적인 순간에 나왔었거든요.
스프링에만 결승을 두 번 갔는데 두 번 다 준우승 3대0으로 진 것도 생각나고
젠지가 정하게보지만 안 돼요.
수고했다. 다음에 잘하 내려 말만 들으니까 너무 그게 슬퍼서
일단로 올라까지 다운 2022 SK 썸머 우승 젠지입니다. LCK의 우승이 없다 이런 타이틀 계속 따라다니고 있었잖아요. 그걸 극복했습니다. 그리고 증명했습니다. 눌러 젠지 나머지야 다운 어떻게 에이디
Holy fuck. Please don't go to North America, my man. Don't go to North America. Please don't go to North America. Join Damwon or make a super team with all these players that are free agents. Please don't tell me that North America is your destination. I heard the rumor is that Genji are going to replace him with the Academy AD carry, who I've been told is quite insane. Nice. No. There was some crazy moments with this guy. Like some crazy shit. I don't know. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
Okay, ruler. Okay, ruler. Okay, ruler. Okay, ruler. Okay, ruler. Okay. It's not fair, is it? Is it fair? Is it fair? I don't know if it's fair. Can we win worlds?
No, we couldn't, Kato. No, we couldn't. Not even close. Look at this. Jesus. All in all, I think that's it for today's episode of Voice of YamatoCannon. I don't think I have anything else to add. I think that the main issue, right? The main issue that the East or like basically Europe has is that the distribution of players is very off, and we're going to have to wait for players to actually coordinate themselves together to create a super roster with all of the best available talent. The main thing here is that you know, contracts and these situations have kept themselves kept the situation from going in a direction where you have those super teams, you know. To recreate what G2 did in 2019, you know, that was just the perfect timing. You know, you had Perks willing to go ADC for caps, making sure that you have two of the best players Europe has ever produced, if not the two best players that Europe has ever produced on the same team. And then Mickey just came off a shitty year of Misfits, so he was ready to jump into the next thing. And then you had Wunder and Jankos already on G2, of course. And to recreate that, you know, you need someone that can talk to players at the pool. And that's the issue of it all. You know, if we made some super rosters now, you know, you could cook up some crazy things. And I think this is something that also Korea in their down years definitely also struggled with. That their distribution of players was not good. And you had these teams in a gruesome fashion fighting for slots for the World Championship. But ideally you position yourself to have, you know, a very stacked top end. And with the off-season that is currently happening in Korea, there's an opportunity for Korea to be even stronger next year. And if I'm being perfectly honest, already from this position, from what we know about Europe, Worlds looks very hard. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.